Hey guys, welcome back. It's great to have you back here. I'm really excited today because I get to introduce you to an amazing marketer and a good friend, Mr. Bob Rigneris. Just a little bit about Bob. He's been involved in Facebook ads basically since before it was an advertising platform. Right? So for those of you that might be old enough like me to remember when these things came out and it was like, oh, Facebook is a thing for like college kids on college campuses and nobody else could get access to it. Like that's when Bob started learning how to use it as a conversion and traffic mechanism for businesses. He also runs an agency focused on engagement. That's called Feedstories, has a ton of depth of experience in using video to create that engagement. So he has a unique perspective on how to use video in a super advanced way. Bob is also the co-author of The Ultimate Guide to Facebook Advertising. Bob, when is that new version going to be coming out?
They are telling me fall of 2020, so we're looking forward to that.
Awesome. So yeah, we're definitely looking forward to that. And then, most recently I got to connect with Bob at a live event. It was amazing. Put on 2 days of content, deep dive content into how to use Facebook with advanced engagement. That's why I asked him to be on the call today. I know that some of you in this course are beginners and you're learning the basics, and that's what we've been working on. But for those of you that are a little bit more advanced, I wanted to bring Bob on because I know that he's going to be able to blow your mind today with some more advanced strategies. So Bob, without further ado, thanks for being with us. Tell me what you got for us today.
Awesome, David. Thanks for inviting me on. It's we had a good time. It's always a good time when we get together, and especially when we could teach people this stuff. I've been doing Facebook since it was just right-hand side ads, basically. And that was the days of the 0.04% CTR, and return on ad spend was something that you could measure like on a piece of paper because it's not existing.
Because it didn't exist in the interface.
Yeah. When Facebook finally introduced sponsored stories, which put ads in the newsfeed, like that changed everything. So I got in kind of right before that, and I moved over from Google to Facebook. Facebook just suits me. I found it suits me better, but it was like, what's all this like buzz about Facebook ads, because they really suck.
Right.
But then about 6 months later, after I kind of dug in, then they introduced sponsored stories, and I'm like, oh, like I could really see the potential. So
absolutely,
Facebook has been a part of what I've been doing now, going on 7 years. So.
And then they just keep rolling out new stuff that makes it more and more confusing maybe to some extent, but also more and more effective. I mean, lookalike lists and better targeting and all of these things, all of these tools that they've given us, just tons of opportunity there.
Yeah, well, just like Facebook and Google, if you want to see where Facebook's going, just look at Google and rewind about 2 years. Facebook's accelerating a little bit faster than Google did. But essentially what happens is that the technology kind of hits mainstream, the media matures, and big brand, big business, all that money flows in, and they have to spend money. And when they have to spend money, it forces the media to create products to absorb all that money coming in.
Take their money, right?
Yeah. So a lot of what we see is all stuff that's a result of big brands going, I've got $10 million to spend this month and I need to spend it. It's very different than most of the people that you and I deal with who have, I only have $1,000 this month or $10,000 this month.
And I need to put it in and I need to get more than that back, right?
Exactly.
It's not just funny money at that
point. They're
point.
tracking and things like that. So it's made it difficult for advertisers as the media has matured. The good old days are over where you could get, pennies, on the dollar. So we got to really be smart, and we really got to stay on top of things. But I think the thing that I want people to understand is that you don't have to follow every new thing that comes out. Every new implementation is not necessarily for you. The world that you and I kind of walk in, we always think about 80-20. So what's 20% of activity or of the features that I can use that are going to get me 80% of the results. And those are the types of things that we want to focus in on as we attack our Facebook ad accounts. So
Well, and let's face it. I mean, there's something fun about beating dumb money, big dumb money, isn't there? Like, yeah, there's all that big dumb money in there, but like, it's fun to go in there and beat that because we
Yeah.
can have strategies, and that's what we're going to talk about today is strategies
Yep.
like to beat that dumb money.
Yep. So what I'm going to talk about is a term that I coined. I think other people have given it different names, but I call it deep funnel marketing or deep funnel advertising. And the basis of this is very simple. It's that I believe that most businesses are very shallow in the way that they market to folks. And the technology and the tools that are specially afforded to us by Facebook allow us to go much deeper with our prospects and get much better returns on our ad spend than we could have ever imagined. In fact, it wasn't really until about 2014, 2015 that the ability to do this was created. And it really transformed every campaign that I've ever worked on since. It really took the pressure off of us as marketers, and I'll explain why as they jump into it. So if you want, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen.
Yeah, let's do it.
And we're going to get this thing rolling here. And we're recording for future posterity.
For posterity, yeah.
Yeah. All right, great. So again, great intro, David. Thank you for that. Yeah, there's two main companies that I currently oversee. Feedstories.com. We create are especially useful in the deep funnel that we're going to talk about. And we launched a niche product called testimonials.live, which is a really testimonials are a real important feature for a business because as my business partner says, what somebody says about you is 100 times more believable than what you say about yourself.
Right.
And so we've really created a process and a system that helps people, get testimonials. Obviously, if people want information, they could go there and visit, but that's not what we're talking about today. So we're going to talk about deep funnel marketing. And what I want to do is introduce some principles before I get into some of the nuts and bolts, just to kind of set the stage for this. So there's three principles I'm going to talk about. The first principle is time. And time is interesting because what I like to call marketing 1.0 is that we had a one-shot environment, meaning somebody saw an ad and we had one shot to kind of convert that person. And whether we're trying to get a sale or we're trying to get an opt-in or whatever, is that we basically had one opportunity to connect with that person. And if they left without us collecting an email address, we basically lost them forever. And the technology and the tool that we're going to talk about that allows us to make this happen allows us the advantage of time, meaning we don't have to convert somebody on the first visit anymore. We can essentially expand our time frame over days, weeks, and even months to have a conversation with somebody. And the way I like to explain it is this, is that if I'm going to go visit the Grand Canyon, I live in Chicago, so I've got a 27-hour drive ahead of me, and there's a number of points in between before I reach my destination.
Looks like some road construction too.
There is. Now, of course, if I'm you, David, I've got like 5 hours less to get there, but it's still a good trip. Yeah. Like I have to reach your point, and actually I'd have to drive right through Des Moines to get to the Grand Canyon. Yep. But my business partners in Denver, even closer, right? 13-hour drive to get to the Grand Canyon. And if you live in Vegas, you're like 2 hours away. All right. This is actually very instructive for us as marketers, because when we look at what we call the customer awareness timeline, now this was introduced in 1966 by Eugene Schwartz. And this concept is very simple. Every person that comes into your world and, your market, they become aware of you. Everybody who comes in is going to be at some point on this timeline. They're either going to be completely unaware of you or they're going to be very aware of you. So this is the first thing that we need to really understand as we approach marketing, is that there are people that are coming into our world that have different levels of awareness in terms of us and even their problem. think about Google advertising. People understand this because when somebody has a problem, they go to Google, they type in the
Right.
problem, right? And Google gives them an answer. So you can be pretty sure as an advertiser that if somebody types in a very specific keyword phrase in Google, that they're already problem aware, okay? And the job of the advertiser, of course, is to move them from left to right, from problem aware to, hey, I've got a solution, right? And introduce them to your solution. And then, of course, convince them that your solution is the best. It's really easy to kind of see that. And I think, David, you've probably experienced this too, is that running an agency, there are people that have been very successful on Google AdWords that shift to Facebook and they're really, really frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And the reason is
they're running solution aware ads.
yes,
Right.
exactly. When you are running solution aware prospecting ads, you're missing out on an entire segment of the population that is unaware that they even have an issue, that they even have a desire. So we have to step back. Now, of course, there are going to be people that see your ads that are already aware of a problem. You know, if you're a car dealer and you put a car ad in front of somebody who's already thinking about running a car, well, of course, like your ad is going to be much more attractive to them. That's a given. But what if you have to take a step further to the left and say, well, maybe I have to create demand for this car, right? It's a little bit more like television than it is Google, right? We're trying to generate demand for our product. So the first thing you really got to think about as you sit down and start to develop ads for your business is, I want to create ads that speak to customers at each point on this timeline, okay? So if I am advertising the Grand Canyon, I need to be aware that people are coming from New York, Chicago, Des Moines, Denver, and know that they're coming from different places, and the way that they're going to get to me is much different, okay? But we're all arriving at the same destination, okay? It's kind of a loose example, but visually it kind of makes sense in terms of moving somebody from one point to the other. So it's our job as an advertiser is to have that conversation with folks to move them from one point to the other. Now, I really think this is a luxury. Marketing 1.0 and really on Facebook, Marketing 1.0 was like 2014. It was only 5 years ago as we're doing this video, where I only had one shot to try to capture some nugget from this person. And it was a lot of pressure. And in fact, it really hurt your return on ad spend, is because if you didn't get that email, if you didn't get that sale or something to connect them, you were really out of luck. So to me, this is such a luxury that we can slow down, we could take a deep breath, and we could say, all right, I can speak to people who are unaware of who I am and what I do. I can speak to people that know they have this particular issue that I solve. I can speak to these people that are aware of this problem and they're ready to hear what I have to offer. And then these people that are already aware of who I am, like I can convince them that I'm the right one to do business with and help them move from, hey, I think I want to do business with this person, to I definitely want to do business with this person. So this is really the thing that you want to keep in mind as you are developing your ads. And it's really the first principle of deep funnel marketing. Tracking so far?
Yeah, absolutely. And just like one of the things that was really interesting about that, Bob, is like you just on that first slide, you talked about testimonials.live, right? Which is a product that you guys have that helps people get testimonials. And I could feel myself actually listening to that. Like I've known for a while that that's one of the things you guys do, but that just moved me from from unaware to problem aware to solution aware again, right? And it was really interesting to see that. I wasn't thinking about it because I didn't know that's where you were going with it, but it was like, I came into this call not at all thinking about needing testimonials, right? And then all of a sudden just being made aware of it again, it was like, oh shoot, I do need testimonial video. And I was like, oh, and there's a solution available. And Bob is one of the people, Bob's company is one of the companies that could help me solve that problem. So just that discussion in that very short example moved me from unaware up to that solution aware category, just like that.
Yep. And that's what advertising does. If you're a financial planner and you start to ping somebody and say, you really got to look at your estate plan. Well, you know, if you had been thinking in the back of your mind already, like, I really got to update my estate plan. You know, I got how many kids now, and you
Right.
know, they're going to be going to college in so many years. That's one of the things that a financial planner might want to do. Or if you are a gym owner, right? And you start to talking about people, especially as we get into the winter months, like, hey, you know, you put on a few pounds over the holidays. You know, that's the type of thing that advertising does, is it wakes somebody up, makes them aware that they have a problem. And you can do that really effectively with Facebook. So the second principle is depth. And I hinted at this a little bit earlier, is that most marketers, most advertisers are really, really shallow. And it's really easy for us to just throw out an ad that is only meant for somebody that is solution aware, and try to convert them on the first click and let them go. I mean, that's pretty much what 90% of the advertisers do. And, you know, give or take 5%. But I really think a majority of advertisers are just thinking about, I'm throwing out my ad as if everybody knows that I exist, as everybody knows that what my solution does, assume that everybody has that problem. It's really lazy marketing. And if you want to keep doing this type of marketing, go ahead, but it's at your own peril, because the cost of advertising never goes down. The cost of advertising always goes up, because Facebook is a public company with stockholders like me, right? And they answer to their stockholders, and they need to be increasing revenues year after year after year. The way to do that is to not cut advertising revenue. It's only going to go up. So the problem is if you want to keep doing things at a lazy level and not go to the depth that you need to, you are going to fall behind, and your ads are going to stop working. You're going to say, Facebook doesn't work. Well, you're not working. Facebook is still working, but you're not working. So you really need to think about depth, okay? This is a paradigm shift for some people, is that thinking about marketing as a conversation versus a transaction. Now, I want you to think about the way that you just go about life, okay? If you think about meeting a new friend for the first time, like, you are not going essentially very deep with that person on the first conversation, okay? You're talking about what you do. You're talking about where you went to school. You're talking about your family a little bit. You're not talking about the fact that, you know, your father was an alcoholic, or, you know, that you're having marital problems. Like, you're not dumping this stuff on them, you know, from the first visit. Like, those are the types of things you could talk about with them once you've got to know them and you've created a relationship. I look at marketing as that. I'm a high empathetic person. That's why Facebook works for me, is because I can't have a conversation in a Google ad. So I was a very poor, well, I'll say average Google advertiser.
You were not poor. You were very good at it. You just like Facebook better.
Okay. I like Facebook better because I enjoy, like, developing conversation, okay? And I really enjoy using words, using sound, using, you know, pictures and video to help tell a story and make a connection. It's really about, it's really about telling your story and connecting to the story of your customer. I think the other thing that people really have to understand is that Facebook in and of itself is a one-to-one marketing mechanism. All right. It's not like the newspaper or television ad where you're just blanketing out. Let's just use a television show. You sit down, you watch TV, and then everyone who's watching that show at the same time is seeing the same commercial. Okay. An advertiser that wants to advertise on a television show is basically saying, I want to target people that are most likely watching this. And so you talk about it's females 25 to 35 or males 35 to 50, right? If you're going to advertise, you know, it's Monday here, and if you watch NFL football yesterday, the ads that ran during the football game were very much targeted at middle-aged males, okay? It's blanket advertising. They didn't know I existed. Dave, they didn't know you exist, right? They're just trying to say, boom. Now, everyone watching that show is all having the same experience. That's not the same with Facebook. If you and I had the same number of friends and even the same number of interests, our news feeds are going to look vastly different from each other.
Yep.
Everyone is having their own personalized experience in their Facebook news feed. And so every ad that is shown is carefully curated by Facebook's artificial intelligence and engine that says, David, this ad we think is really targeted to you. And Bob, this ad is targeted to you. So you need to stop thinking about how do I target to masses to how do I target these individuals. It really makes you think about who's my avatar, who am I really selling to? And that's going to transform your advertising, because now you're not thinking about how do I get as many conversions. It's how do I talk to this person who looks like this and acts like this. It's much more of a behavioral type of advertising, a more personal form of advertising than a Google ad, which is just trying to move people based on their search query, or a television commercial that's targeting a large demographic. Make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, the thing that just came to mind was when you were talking about the customer awareness timeline, you know, and I think you even said this, is like it mimics real actual behavior, and that's why it works. Right?
Yes.
It's because, like, if I was just thinking about, like, we were at a live event together recently, and of course I run a digital agency. Like, I want to meet people that might want to hire me, but I don't walk around with a sign saying, like, give me your credit card number. Right? It's like the first thing that I'm looking for is, like, who do I just have a natural connection with? I have a 3-minute conversation over lunch and it feels like, oh, we connected. It's like, boom, step 1. Step 2, maybe give them some good information, try to help them in their business. It's like, I'm naturally trying to move people through that. And this is really just using advertise to mimic that very natural process of moving somebody through that process.
Exactly. Now, here's a question. Who's controlling that? Who's controlling that conversation, really?
Yeah, to a large extent, they are. Exactly.
Now, all right, you really, you have so you're going to these networking groups just like I am, and you have an expectation, right? You want to do business with these people. Not, I mean, obviously for the revenue, but also, like, you know, you could help people.
Right.
And everyone who's watching this has something that they're really good at and they want to help people with. I mean, fundamentally, that's why you're in business. Right. I would hope so, is to do really good things for people. So you have this expectation when you sit down at a networking meeting or you go to a mastermind meeting and say, like, there are people here that I want to do business with. But if you have that heavy-handed approach and you're dropping business cards on somebody and you're getting right into your elevator pitch and all that, like, you're going to turn more people off. Now, there's maybe somebody in that room that has enough pain that they're willing to, like, take a chance on you. But a better approach in that situation is exactly what you said, is you start talking to people, you create rapport, you have a conversation, you find out if you have some common ground, and you basically give yourself the space to, like, have some rhythm with the person. And in natural course of conversation, they're going to ask what you do, you're going to find out what they do. And once they find out what you do and they have an issue with something that you could solve, it's going to naturally flow out of that.
Yep.
If you could capture that, right, in a string of Facebook ads, like, you have mimicked real life, and that's what really converts. Yep. And that's like that if you just realize that from watching this, like, you're going to win. It's going to totally transform the way you approach advertising. Now, I had a seminal moment in Austin, Texas a few years ago. I got invited to the Facebook ad headquarters. I had several clients spending, like, several $1 million a year in advertising. So, you know, I got to go down and be with all these other advertisers spending a lot of money. I felt like a big deal, but I also felt like about this big, because right. I'm like, who am I to be sitting here? But it was really interesting because I met, like, the VPs of every product that Facebook had, you know, the news feed, the ad platform, Instagram, like WhatsApp, like, they were all there in this room and they all had presentations. There's a couple things that came out of that. The first is this, and this is a little bit out of scope of this, but I'll just share it because it's really, really important. They said 3 things. There's 3 key things that really make a Facebook ad work. It's it's the audience you choose. Okay. And the second thing is how effectively you bid to win the auction. And I don't have time to dig into that, but every time you run an ad, you are competing against others to have your ad shown. Okay. There's a competition going on. The third thing is creative. And this was my most seminal moment as a Facebook advertiser. The gentleman up there was one of the head engineers on the ad platform. He said this, he said, "We can automate and target better than you can." David mentioned this, like lookalike audiences are something that are very powerful. If you have a really good model, Facebook can find prospects much better than I can. The second thing is bidding. Well, Facebook basically has automated bidding tools that allow you to maximize your views in the auction and make your costs the most efficient possible. I could try to manually bid and try to, circumvent things, but it's not worth my time because Facebook could target better than me. They can bid better than me. But here's what he said, David. He said, the one thing we can't automate is creative. The reason you guys are in this room is that we want to talk about creative. Creative is the hinge. It's the linchpin. It's everything in terms of having a good ad versus a bad ad. If you get really good at creative, if you really focus in on make a connection through images, words, and audio, if you can have that connection with somebody, you are going to win more times than not when you run your Facebook ads. And by win, I mean, convert more traffic into sales.
Yep.
That was so, it just soaked into me, and I knew how important it was. Like I almost tuned out for the next half hour because I was just kind of like, oh my goodness, like this is the thing, right? When I tuned back in, for 2.5 days, they talked about nothing other than video. Now this is 2016, and
right.
They had all these predictions about what 2018 and 2019 would look like, and they've come true. All right, they said by 2018, like 95% of the people that use Facebook are going to be on their mobile phones, which is true if you look at the stats, right? And a majority of the content and creative that they see is going to be video. And so they said the vice president of the newsfeed gets up there and says, we're focusing on optimizing video for the newsfeed. The vice president of Instagram feed got up and said, we are optimizing video for the Instagram newsfeed. Like, okay, all right. So they're basically admitting that they've shifted to being a video company. Yep. And if you don't get on board, you're going to fall behind. So that was the second thing that really happened. And I was so affected by it. I went outside, I took a walk, I called up my now business partner, who was my friend at the time. I said, we are going to shift our focus. We're going to focus everything we do on video. So video is really, really important. And it's the third principle of the deep funnel. I want to let you know that you can do deep funnel marketing without video, but it's not going to be as effective. Video is really important to conversation. All right. Not many of us have the ability to craft copy and do things with words that can move people along. It actually allows more advertisers to be effective by using video, because it's not only words now, but it's sound, it's faces, right? We're mimicking conversations, okay? When you we text back and forth, and that's all well and good, but really when you make connections is when you go out with somebody, you have coffee, you have dinner, all right, you meet together, the personal connection.
And this is like, Bob, this is so pulling in like the cultural shift that's happening too, because if you would have said, 15 years ago, compete on video, what we would have thought of is like, okay, I got to compete with the people that are on TV, right? And that was a very different environment because it's professional video, voice actors, scripts, sets, all of this stuff. Well, now we're in a very different environment. You don't have to have that stuff to make successful video. You think about the videos that are engaging on Facebook, it's your friends with the phone telling a story, right? So our expectations of video culturally have really shifted, which has also brought about this shift where just about anybody can do video to the extent that it's needed to make these concepts work.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've got an iPhone 10, and it's already obsolete. No.
Right?
All right. Now iPhone 11's out, and I've only got one lens for my camera, and now there's three. Like, are
Right.
you kidding me? But here's what, like, my phone is the one I have the newest phone in the house. So my phone is the one that everybody uses, like for like special, like, we had homecoming. So we're
Right.
taking the homecoming pictures. Here's the thing. You can take 4K video with a phone, right? And it looks better than anything like I shot, 10 years ago with a really, really expensive
Right.
video recorder. It's
Yep.
like amazing. Um, it Look, I don't know about you, but as I get older, I find it less and less appealing to read things on my phone because I can't see it. um, so it's a little bit of that. It's a little bit, I think people are a little bit lazy. Uh, Video is just the way people consume things now. Video is the way people consume content in social media. It's just a fact of life.
Yep.
So we can all say, well, I'm more of a writer. And I could say, all right, that's great. I agree with you. But for you to really compete as an advertiser, you really need to be thinking about how can I effectively use video?
Yep.
And there's a lot of ways to do video. Obviously, David, we do professional video, but what you may not know, or what people watch this may not know, is we don't shoot all our video on expensive equipment. We actually have services that exactly what you and I are doing with webcams right now and phones is the way we shoot a lot of our video.
Mhm.
So we can actually interview somebody sitting in their office, just like I am right now, and do content videos that connect with audiences. Like, it's really that easy. And if you're not doing this, you're really missing an opportunity. So how about I go through a few of these types of videos that you can do that will provide good content for a deep funnel. So
Perfect.
the first one is going to be an explainer video, and we've seen all these. Here's my business partner, Brandon. We do these videos for our funnels and for our clients' funnels where we're explaining a concept. So these videos are about a minute, so give or take 15 seconds on either end. But all we're trying to do is take about 1 minute to share one piece of information. I think that's one of the keys you probably want to write down, is that your videos in social media feeds, especially Facebook, have to be kind of short and to the point because people just can't really tolerate much longer. Okay. Now, I'm going to say this is that the less they know you, the shorter your videos have to be. The more they know you and the further that they move along the customer awareness timeline, the more grace you have to do longer videos. Because if somebody's moving from solution aware to your solution aware to most aware, that they are really investigating you and trying to go deep. And we do have videos that live on landing pages and things like that that are 7-8 minutes long. We have some videos that are an hour long. We just recorded one of these last week for a seminar for one of our clients. So video is a great way to communicate, and you just got to kind of know that the further they are to the left, the shorter the videos want to be, and then as you move to the right, you can make them longer. But this type of video is an explainer video, and we like to use things, as you can see, like words on screen. We use captions in our videos because we want to use as many of the senses as possible to really get our point across. So we have a series, I think this video series that we're looking at here, we've got about 10 or 12 videos that when somebody visits our website, they are going to see the series of these videos in their newsfeed, which is essentially the deep funnel at work. So that's one type of video. The second type is an FAQ. Now, an FAQ is a little bit different in that what we're trying to do is answer specific questions. So everybody, when they create a sales promo, typically has an FAQ section, right? Whether it's on a website or a promotional letter, you're going to have FAQs. These are questions that people commonly ask when they get to the point of they're aware of your solution. So this is one of our clients called Roof Simple. And obviously, when you're going to repair or replace your roof, you've got very specific questions.
Mm-hmm.
So what we did here was we took the top, I think we shot about 20 of these, like the top 20 questions that their salespeople get. and we shot FAQ videos. And so this particular one, Marty, who's one of the co-owners, is talking about some of the materials that they use. So that's a big question people have. So FAQs are a good way to, once somebody is gone, I'm aware of this solution, I'm trying to figure out which one is the right one, and I've got questions. That's where these videos get inserted in that process. Okay. There's also a sales video. Now, a sales video, that is, all right, you're aware of your problem, you're aware of solutions, you're aware of my solution. Now, here is my argument, or here is my plea to you to say, I'm the right person for you to do business with. All right. These types of videos are typically a little bit longer. They live on a sales page or a website is probably a better way to put it. They live on a website. People will tolerate longer form videos here, but you still need to be really succinct. But this is where you do all the things that you need to do. You need to talk about the features and benefits. You need to talk about what's in it for the customer, right? You need to talk about removing risk. You need to provide proof that you can actually do those things. And we incorporate all these into sales videos. And those are really effective ways to move somebody from Facebook to your webpage, and then have a little bit better environment to do the selling. Does that make sense, David?
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing that I love about this is, like, I know, so we're kind of different, because I'm that guy that, what did you say? The advertisers that are really shallow. That's me. I'm like the guy that I like to drop ads and, like, let's get the conversion. And one of the things I love about working with you is that you do, more naturally sort of recognize that process. But the other component of that here is that it's not like you're backing away from the close at all. You're still, that you recognize that, yeah, the close, the sale, the whatever you want to call it, still has to be a component, but we're delivering it to people at the right time and in the right way, right?
Yeah, and I should say this. I wrote a book in 2008 called Big Ticket E-Commerce, and I wrote a whole book on how to sell expensive and complex things using the internet. And I just happen to work with a lot of clients that sell complicated, high-priced things, which are not like high-conversion things, right, on the internet. So I've actually been working in this space for years. So obviously, even writing a book in 2008, I had 10 years of experience prior to that working with clients who were selling really complex stuff. And in 2008, I didn't have any of this. Like, I was teaching them, well, you got to get an email address, and, like, you really have to do things different. Like, once we were able to, like, use retargeting, it was like, whoa, like, this is almost too easy, right? Because all the things that I'm showing you here are things that I taught people how to do in a very complex environment, because we didn't have the technology that we have now.
Yeah, the tools didn't exist to make it this simple.
Yeah, and we didn't have smartphones either.
Right.
We had flip phones. Like, do I sound old?
No, not to me.
Okay. Maybe some people are watching us like, these old guys, right?
That's right.
Okay. Don't know where we're going with that, but it's all good. One others obviously is testimonials. We just happen to believe that testimonials are so powerful. It's why we created a separate product. But when you are trying to convince somebody, especially if you're in our situation where we deal with people that are selling high price, complex stuff, like, they are afraid of making a really bad decision. And so what they want to see is, I want to know that people have used you as a business before and have had some level of success. They want to see people that they recognize that endorse them. This is Perry Marshall. I have been a fan of Perry's, for 20 years. He is somebody that I pay every single month for mentorship, but he also pays us. He is a client. So he's a mentor of mine. He's a client. He's also a friend. But getting a testimonial from somebody like Perry is really powerful for our business, because so many people recognize him. He's a nationally known, internationally known author and speaker, really successful business. But he says, hey, we use Feedstories. And, and he basically, in his it was like a 5-minute testimonial. We've had to kind of chop it up, but he's basically saying, like, this is what we use these guys for. They're the best at it. And, like, we couldn't live without them. Well, how much is that worth to have that type of testimonial? Yep. We just really believe that it's so critical for a business to collect testimonials. and especially video testimonials. You know, like you can, how should I say this? You can spoof reviews on Amazon.
Right.
Right. You could buy reviews. You could,
Yeah.
you know, it's a lot harder to buy video testimonials. Like
Right.
it's much more authentic to hear somebody say it. They had to take time out of their day to get on camera.
And because of that, the video testimonials have so much more authority than other types of testimonials, because you know it's not spoofed. You know that the person took the time to do it, that they cared enough about the brand or about their experience to actually do it. They just have a lot more credibility than any other type of testimonial.
Yeah. So that's you know, obviously there's other types of videos, but I just want you to imagine that if digital technology didn't exist, and you had somebody that you were trying to make aware of their problem, make them aware of the solutions to their problem, make them aware of your solution, and then convince them to do business with you, and you had only the ability to talk with them, that's how you want to think about deep funnel marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what conversations am I going to have with David at this visit, at this visit, at this visit? Okay, that's really the way you want to think this. So let's talk a little bit about implementation as like how do we actually, you know, put this into motion. The first thing that I want to stress, and this is so critical, is that most people think about advertising is I'm diving in and I'm prospecting. Okay, we call that cold traffic. Okay, cold traffic is cold and named cold for a reason. All right, it's hard to warm something up.
And Bob, can you just take a second? How do you define cold traffic? I mean,
okay,
what does that mean?
Cold traffic is they are unaware that they have a problem. So they're as far left of that customer awareness timeline as possible, mm-hmm. or they're completely unaware that you exist.
Yep. So
they live on the left side of that customer awareness timeline. So they're cold. They either don't know they have a problem or they don't know you exist. Okay. Mm-hmm. That's hard. Like the beginning part of a relationship for most people is hard, right? You're doing a dance. You're trying to get to know each other.
This is you walking into the networking room going, oh gosh, okay, here we go. Like there's 20 people or 100 people in the room. And it's like, okay, I don't know any of these people. We got to get this thing started. But all of these relationships are completely cold when I'm starting.
Absolutely. Okay. So my question to anyone that I have this discussion with is, why do we always start with cold traffic? Like, why do we assume that the best advertising we could do is to people that are completely unaware they have a problem or they're unaware of us? Mm-hmm. It makes absolutely no sense. What you need to do is you need to turn it around and start with warm traffic. Warm traffic means they're aware that they have a problem and they're at least aware of you, all right? Most of our clients that come to us, we start off with doing retargeting to people that have already been in their world. Some of our most effective clients are advertising on Google, where they're attracting problem-aware people, and then we retarget them on Facebook. We actually move them from Google advertising to Facebook advertising. Like, you can't really do an effective deep funnel in Google. Now, you could use some YouTube ads and things like that, but it's not as controlled as you could do in Facebook. So think about the power of shifting somebody who responds to a Google ad and they have like the specific issue, okay? They're problem aware. And now all of a sudden they go from their Google ad, they visit your site, they visit your competitor's site, and they're kind of like, okay, and they go out their day, but then they open up Facebook that night and all of a sudden here's an ad from you and it's an explainer video.
Right.
All right. Like, whoa, okay. Yeah. Now all of a sudden, here's all the people that they're looking at. You're up here. Okay. You've just risen to the top because you're the one that actually is starting to put information in front of them. And it's not like, hey, I'm going to do business with me.
Right.
Again, I'm dealing with a lot of people that sell products and services that have a long time frame. All right. And if you work in an industry where it's like, hey, I sell ice cream, like you're either hungry or not for ice cream. Now you're probably always hungry for ice cream, right? So, if you're in the business where it's like, hey, you're either going to decide to do business with us or not right now. Like it's relatively inexpensive, or there's not a big decision, it's not complex. Like this is, you could do this on a very small scale and be very successful. What we're really talking about here is most people are involved in a business where the product or service takes time. And this is really what we're talking about. So shifting your mindset from, I'm not going to start out by doing Facebook ads with cold traffic. I'm going to start doing Facebook ads with people that are already warmed. Okay. Most of the people that start off at least have run some Google ads, or at least they have some people visiting their website where they can start with a deep funnel and warm that traffic up. Does that hit it, Dave?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay. Now I think as most people are aware of a Facebook pixel, this is the piece of code that lives on your website that makes this all possible. Again, this did not exist like earlier than 2014 is the way we have it. But the Facebook pixel installed properly on your website allows you to connect with somebody for up to 180 days in the future. And so like the very first thing, like the day you open your Facebook ad account, the very next thing you should do is you install the pixel on your website. All right. The best thing you could do is start collecting information about your visitors from the very day you open your Facebook ad account. It's the first thing we check for whenever we do an engagement with a client. It's the first thing David checks. There are still people that do not have a pixel installed. Even if you don't have the intention of running Facebook ads now, but you're going to do it in 6 months or even next year, get the pixel installed, let it collect data about your visitors. You'll be happy that you got this done. Okay. What powers the pixel is the ability to create what we call website custom audiences. Now, I can't get too deep into how audiences are created. They can get my book, or you can learn more from David. But what we are doing is we're creating groupings of people that visit our website. And you could see in this example here, this is an actual client snapshot, David, of a stacking of traffic based on when they last visited. Are you covering this at all in your course, by the way?
Just briefly, but yeah, go for it, man. This is super valuable.
Okay. So again, without getting into the details, you have the ability to set up groupings of people that visit your site over a particular amount of time. So in this case, for this client, we're looking at creating, audiences of people that have visited in the previous 7 days. We've got a 3-day audience. Let's see here. What else we got? We got a 30-day audience. We got a 45-day audience. You can see, obviously, as we go higher, up to 180 days. So this particular client, their traffic over 180 days is about 27,000 people. All right. And that's 27,000 Facebook users. Okay. There are some people that the pixel doesn't fire because they don't, they don't have a Facebook account, but most people do. So this is really effective at implementing what we call the deep funnel over time. So this particular client has a pretty complex type of business. I don't really want to mention what it is,
Sure.
But most people don't convert 7 days after they visit. They are anywhere between I'm ready now to I'm not ready for 6 months. And so this allows us to set up communication for this entire period of time. So we have explainer videos, we have testimonials, we have FAQs that we are showing to this audience in the first 3 days they visit, the first 7 days they visit, the first 30 days they visit, up to 180 days. We are keeping in touch with these folks over time. Now you think about this, like what were we doing 6 months ago? Who the heck knows, right? Like you're not remembering what you did with your family 6 months ago. Are you going to remember like this random website you visited that sold this stuff? No, you're not. So it's our job as an advertiser is to keep them connected. And we do that by creating these audiences and keeping track of them. All right. It's just a way to keep track of them so that we can go back to them and reach them later. Okay. And then here's how this is actually implemented. You could see these are ad sets that we have set up. And for each of these groupings, we're spending a little bit of money here and we're getting them to click back to our website. So in this case, we are using some video here. You can see our 14 to 30-day visitor here. We have a video where our client says, how do we charge low prices?
Right.
Like it's an FAQ.
It's an
like
FAQ, right?
Yeah, it's an FAQ. all these here are blogs. These are articles. They're information articles that like basically do no selling at all, but they talk about a particular topic that's of interest to this audience. This one's kind of interesting. Here, a feed commercial. It's just a term that we developed for a commercial that lives in the news feed. Really creative, isn't it?
It is. I like it.
We have found that as somebody is about to fall off our 6-month window, that if we show them kind of the original commercial, web commercial that they saw when they first came in, that we're able to kind of cycle people back in and get them right back into our deep funnel. Like we move them,
get another 180 days with them.
We get 180 days, right? So every time we can get them to visit our site, we can reset the cycle.
Yeah.
But then one of the things we found is that in this particular business, a discount is really important. It's not the first thing we teach people to do, but a discount absolutely puts people over the top with this particular market.
Yep.
And so you could see we spend a disproportionate amount of money on this discount reminder. And, you know, we generate a nice amount of clicks to the website and actually generate sales.
Yep.
So timing is everything to the deep funnel, and being able to stay connected with people for up to 6 months is really powerful for a lot of businesses.
Bob, can you jump back one more? And you may be going to get into this forward one, the one we were just looking at there.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just want to call this out, and maybe you're going to speak to this, but what I'm seeing in here is it's like, okay, for visitors that were on your site 7 to 30 days ago, you're trying to get them to go to your blog.
Yeah.
And then for visitors that were on there 45 to 60 days ago, you're trying to get them to go to blog 14. So you've got all of these different silos where you're saying as people sort of go through that funnel, they're getting different types of content. It's not like all of these ads are showing all of the time. You're actually using those time periods to show people different ads based on how long it's been since they were at your site.
Exactly. And so we're making a little bit of an assumption here. You can kind of extrapolate is that once they get past 30 days, if they didn't buy from the discount and they didn't buy after seeing, you know, 1 or 2 of our FAQs, like, okay, they're not ready right now, but that doesn't mean that they're not going to be ready. So we're going to use content now, which is, you know, like I said, there's very little, if not no selling with this. We're just going to try to educate the customer. Right. And we're going to stay in touch with them, and we're going to see if we could get them to visit. Now, it's interesting here. You would think that, you know, we'd have more visitors kind of in that 45 to 60 day window, but like, look, in the 30-day window, we actually are getting people that are, you know, a month and a half, 2 months out that are visiting more often than even in the tighter 30 to 45 day window.
Right.
So,
interesting.
You know,
and you could probably see that as you map it out. Like every different product has sort of a different journey that people go through. It's like they go and they do a bunch of research and they're like, okay, well, we're not ready for this yet, but maybe we need to do some, depending again on the product, maybe we need to do some planning at the corporate level or at the business level to be like, okay, we're going to plan for this expense because in the next quarter we want to do this. So you'll see some of those fluctuations. There are just lots of purchases that aren't made the first time somebody interacts with it. It's like, I know I want this, I know I need to do this, but today is not the day.
Well, let me show you an example of this. I don't want to dive into the ad account, but I'm going to give you the numbers here. So one of the clients that we have sells checks, paper checks, you know, those things that people used to carry in their wallet. You know, there's a lot of industries that still use checks. Real estate and churches and attorneys, like checks are still pretty viable. But here's the thing, when you run out of checks, you buy a box of them. So you're getting a minimum of 250. Most people are getting another like 2,500 checks. So unless you're writing a lot of checks, like you are not going to run out for a while. So we know this now about our customers, and we know that they're either going to buy right away because they ran out of checks, or they're going to buy in 6 months or more because they haven't quite run out yet. So it's really important for us to keep in touch with these folks. Now, here's the thing, okay? The next slide I'm going to show you, I want to kind of set it up. So this client does 2 things. They heavily advertise in Google AdWords, because when you run out of checks, you're going to go to the Google, and you're going to type in business checks, right? Or QuickBooks checks. You're going to type in a keyword phrase because you are out of checks, okay? So a lot of their ad spend is on Google AdWords, and people are going to the website and they're shopping for checks, okay? So remember what I told you before is that you could retarget people that came from a different media. So we are targeting the warm traffic that had been searching. Now we're doing a little bit of prospecting as well, all right? Because we kind of know who buys checks. And so we're using our audiences to prospect and bring in cold people, but it's really ineffective compared to the Google AdWords.
Right.
But let me show you the power of retargeting here. So we have been running ads for this client since 2017. They spent nearly $100,000 on ads, but it's generated $198,000 in sales, okay?
It's a good magic gumball machine.
For every dollar that they spend, they get $2 back.
Yep.
Right? That's powerful. If they had not been running a deep funnel and advertising to people who have visited and left their website, that's $200,000 in sales that would have been dropped off. Okay. Now, the other thing you need to think about is don't think short term here. Okay. Somebody that buys checks from me today is now a customer of mine.
Right.
And so now I've got their email address, absolutely, but I also have their phone number. I have their physical address. Now they're a customer. So what is this customer really worth? Okay. You know, this client's willing to spend like $100 or $150 to buy a customer because they're worth far more than that. And so he's beating those expectations with these ads. But I just want you to understand is that if a deep funnel had not been in place, these 200,000 in sales might have gone to him, but might have gone to others. All right. So it's really critical that you follow up with that warm traffic. Even if you get nothing out of prospecting on Facebook, but you just nurture the traffic that you have from those sources, look what your possibilities are.
And I think that's a really important point. I want to stop you there just for a second there, Bob, because I think people naturally think of an advertising medium as doing the whole spectrum, right? We're going to use Facebook to try to move people from unaware all the way across to most aware. And I think if I'm hearing you right, what you're saying is that yes, in some cases you can use Facebook to move them from unaware to most aware, but there are often times where at the bare minimum, you can build a deep funnel to get those people that have come in that are aware from other traffic sources, whether that's Google, YouTube, whether it's they clicked on your signature in an email link and they went to your website. It's like, okay, now they're aware. So even if you're not using Facebook to prospect, to find cold traffic, you can still often have great wins using it just for warm to hot traffic.
Absolutely. And this is another example of somebody doing exactly that. This is a SaaS company. They sell software as a service. They collect leads for people at trade shows. And we've been working with them for a little while. And this client has asked me to say, hey, you know, an appointment for me is worth $400. So, you know, what can we do? Well, for 6 months, we spent $4,400. We generated 91 appointments. So $48 an appointment. So like,
and this is where you're like, dang, I should have just charged you $350 for the appointment and pocketed the rest, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So now what this client is actually doing is we're number one, they're doing Google AdWords for sure. Okay. Yep. Number one. Secondly, they've got an amazing organic presence. They've got a lot of content. So they get a lot of organic and search traffic coming to their site. So that's the second source. The third source is they do direct mail. All right, so they're doing direct mail and driving people to their website. Well, guess what? When they get to the website, just like a Google ad, we pixel them, okay? The fourth thing they're doing is email outreach. And what do you think they're doing inside the email? They're driving them to their website. So that's 4 sources. Card that drive people to guess where? Their website, okay? So if this wasn't in place, they would have to like try to get appointment on the first shot. All right. But with this scenario, using a deep funnel, all these sources of traffic are getting pixeled. We can warm them through, I believe there's about 40 pieces of content over 6 months. And we were able to convert them, as you can see there, at 1/10 of what they were asking for.
Yep.
Right. Really powerful.
And it really maximizes, and I know you just said this, but it still blows my mind. It just maximizes every other channel that you're using. Like that's
Yeah.
what a Facebook deep funnel does. Like you're already doing these other things. It just maximizes that traffic.
Yeah. So I'm going to switch over. I'm going to show this handout. Now, Dave, you're going to hand this out to your folks.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So let me just pull this up here. I want to go through this. I know we're getting a little short on time here. Is that showing up all right?
It's showing up, and this is gold. So take your time, man. Whatever.
Okay.
I don't know what time constraints you're under, but this is fantastic. So just do it as much justice as you want to.
Okay. So this will take a little time to absorb. This is 11 by 14 printout, but you can see here I've put the awareness timeline at the top, and visually, as we consider what we're going to do with folks, we're going to move them from left to right. Okay. So think of a prospecting ad as they're somewhere in this unaware or problem aware environment. Okay. That's the mindset that they're in. When they shift past this and they visit our website, they're probably more in the solution aware and you're solution aware. And this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to move them from left to right. Okay. So the scenario that I talked about before was we are using different media to drive people to a website, right? So, we're driving them to a landing page and we pixel that traffic, all right? We are driving people from Facebook prospecting ads, Google AdWords, outbound email, direct mail, goes on and on, right? All these sources, we are driving them to a landing page and we're pixeling that traffic, all right? That's what really initiates the deep funnel, is that first initial visit, okay? Now, in each of these boxes, as we look at these ads, we've got includes and excludes. So, if we are going to do a Facebook prospecting ad and you're going to teach people how to do this, is we want to include a target audience. So that is the audience that we've chosen, okay? We want to make sure that when we're running these video ads that we actually exclude people that have already seen our ad. So one of the advantages of using video on Facebook is that not only can we create a website custom audience, we can create a video custom audience. So people that have engaged with like an individual video. Yep. So we actually have the ability to track the people that watched our ad. And you could track it from, number of seconds that they've watched or percentage of how much video they watched. So in this case, what we're trying to do here is, if we're doing video prospecting, running an ad on Facebook, we want to exclude people that looked at just the beginning part of our video and decided it wasn't for them. So we want to exclude them from seeing this ad in the future. This is a way that we keep our costs down, and it's a way that we don't target people that have determined that we're not for them.
Sure.
Okay, so we want to exclude that traffic. Now, we also want to exclude people that have already been to our landing page, okay? Why would we keep showing the same ad to somebody that we got to visit to the site and pixel them? All right, I see this mistake too many times, is that once they see our ad and the action of all this media is to get them to visit our landing page, like, why are we spending money on showing the ad to the same person who already took the action that we want? So you always want to exclude visitors to the landing page in your prospecting ad, so that you're always showing it to people that are new and ready to see your ad, okay?
Because in essence, that's the definition of prospecting, right?
Right.
we want to show it to people that we haven't given them the opportunity to interact with us yet.
Exactly. So what we are now doing is we've crossed the threshold. We've gone out of the shallow funnel. We moved them to the deep funnel. All right. We are going to use now a series of ads to communicate with them. So what I'm showing here is basically a deep funnel with no sequence. So I showed you the example before where, it was like 7 to 30 days or 14 days. I want to show you a simple example first of how do we target people where we don't really care if they see ad 1 first or video 4 first, or it doesn't matter to us. This is a non-sequence deep funnel. All the ads can show in any order because the content is equally important. All right. So similarly, we want to use a video ad because we can, exclude people that have already seen it. That's very important, okay? But who's going to see this video ad? Everybody on Facebook? Everybody in our prospecting audience? No. Only people that have visited our landing page. Okay? Only people that have visited our landing page are going to see this ad. Okay? Now, we are driving them not to the same landing page as before. You could see here, this is a landing page. We are driving them to a separate page. So you saw in the example before that we were driving them to one of the pages of our blog. Okay? So if somebody sees this ad who is in our target audience, they visited this page already, we are going to exclude them from seeing this again. They've already consumed this content. We don't need to show them this ad again. Okay? Now, on this page, typically what we're going to do is we're going to have some sort of call to action, whether we're collecting an email address, getting them to put something in their cart, getting them to register for a webinar, you name it. We're trying to get them to do an action, and we're going to lead them to another page here, okay? Like I said, it could be dozens of different actions we get them to take. But if we can get them to move from this page to our action page and take our action, we've done our job, and we are going to exclude them from seeing this nurturing ad. Does that make sense, David?
Yeah, for sure. I just want to throw in an example, unless you have one in mind.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so, and tell me if I've got this right. So your nurturing video ad number one might be, let's say, a testimonial.
Sure.
And then if they click through to that testimonial, they go to domain.com/nurture page one. That might be a page that has 10 testimonials on it. And on that testimonials page, somewhere there's a call to action that says, would you like to schedule an appointment to find out more?
Yes.
And that would be the domain.com/action, right? So
exactly.
we're moving people through that process so that if they're on that page, if they do take the action, we can stop the deep funnel, because if they've taken that action, it's done its job. And now we ideally would want to do something else with them.
Exactly.
Okay, awesome.
Okay. So if they take the action we want them to take, we exclude them. So all the steps in the process is that if they take the action we want them to take, we exclude them from seeing the ad so they don't get invited to take the same action. Okay.
Right.
We're moving them, right? We're moving them. Okay. Now, optionally, all right, we can put a time parameter on this if we want, right? We can say, look, once they get outside of 30 days, they never convert. So we're just going to go ahead and say, anyone who has visited for the first 30 days can see this. Once they get past 30 days and they don't take an action, we're also not going to waste any money on them.
Sure.
Okay. And then again, we can also say, hey, if somebody watched 10 seconds of this ad and didn't go to this landing page, they're probably not interested. So I'm not going to show them this ad again.
Yep.
Okay. Now we can create a duplicate of this. Okay. This is going to be to the same audience, but it's going to be different content. So maybe this is an explainer video. All right. Again, anyone that visited our landing page initially, anyone that has not visited our second nurturing page. Okay. So maybe, like Dave said, this is a page of testimonials. Maybe this is a page or an article that goes in depth with the explainer video. Maybe it partners that up. Okay. So again, we have our includes, we have our excludes. Okay. Anyone that took our action, we exclude, and we can also put a time parameter on it. We could also exclude people that watched a portion of the video. Okay. We can keep stacking this thing. Like I told you, the iCapture client, we have like 40 of these in here. Okay. We put some time parameters on it, and I'll scroll down a minute and show you. But again, you know, we could do, maybe we do a testimonial, an explainer, and an FAQ. You know, maybe we have 5 testimonials. We do 5 explainers and 5 FAQs. All right. That's all part of this.
Sorry, I just want to call that out too, Bob, because I think the strategy is so sound. And I know you're using examples of clients that you've worked for a while, and you've got depth of content, but this strategy will work even if you start with 3 pieces of content, right?
Yep.
Like 1 testimonial, 1 blog article, and 1 video that's an explainer video, like, because you're focusing, again, you're matching the natural process that happens. So it's like, hey, these people have taken an affirmative action. I'm going to invest a little bit more to try to move them to the next stage.
Yep.
I'm not blowing all this advertising out to all of Facebook. It's very targeted.
Right.
And you don't, even though it would be great to have 40 pieces of content, and you should definitely shoot toward that, this strategy can be effective with 3, 4,
exactly,
5, and get started.
And then just from a practical standpoint, maybe we have a $1,000 ad budget that we split between Facebook and Google. Let's just say we're doing that, or maybe just Facebook. We spend $1,000 on Facebook. We spend all of it to try to get them to visit this page. We might have these set up for like $5 a day, and we may not spend all of it depending on our traffic. Right. So, we're spending proportionately less on this traffic. And we're going to find that our costs are lower because here it's very expensive to go to cold traffic. It's a lot cheaper to go to warm traffic.
Yep.
Okay. Now, as I scroll this down, okay, I just want to show you everything is the same. Oh, let me say one more thing here. So this action page, okay, let's say maybe it's a webinar. Just understand that if that's not the final action, that we can set up a deep funnel off of this.
Right. So you basically cut and paste and move the whole thing over and go, okay, now there's a whole other step.
So let's say we were in the business of trying to get people to be aware, like if we're a financial planner, it's a good one. All right. So we're putting out content to make people aware of my practice. Then what we're going to do is we're going to drive these people to articles that we wrote, and we want to drive them to a webinar. Okay. So on the webinar, our call to action is we want them to set up an appointment. So if they go to the webinar, they don't set up an appointment, guess what we're going to do? We're going to run a deep funnel nurturing ads to try to drive them back to set up an appointment. All right. And we can go one step beyond that. What if they set up an appointment and they don't convert to be a client? All right. So it just keeps going on and on until we get to the point where they've, taken the action that we want.
Right.
Okay.
And one of the things that I hear, and you can just stop me, Bob, if you're tired of my color commentary, but one of the things that I hear when people start talking about, it's like, oh, this is a lot of work. And I'm like, yeah, it is a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. Like it takes hours to set this up.
But the alternative is like, when people say this is a lot of work, the reaction that I have now at this point is like, it's like going, again, I just keep using the networking event, right? It's like going to a networking event, meeting some people, having some great conversations, getting some business cards, and then going back to your office and going, it's too much work to follow up with those people. I'm just going to throw them away.
Yep.
Right. It's like, yeah, it's work, but these are your hottest prospects. So every time you duplicate this and move it down the funnel, that additional work that you're putting in, those people are hotter and hotter and hotter and more likely to convert.
Well, and then if you just take that example, so let's say you go to the networking event, you collect 10 cards, you had 10 conversations. All right. But 3 of those people, you actually like had some sort of depth where they're like, you know what, like I've got, I need more Facebook traffic. I want to get involved with that, but I'm kind of scared to do it. So David, like I want to hire, I might want to talk to you about that.
Right.
So maybe 3 of those 10 people like made that declaration to you. The other 7 might be, I don't do any Facebook advertising, or I've already got somebody that does it. Like you're not, all right. So obviously you want to get them to convert. So maybe you put that and say, well, we're going to exclude those 7 because right now I need to focus on these 3. So maybe the next time you go to that event, or you set up like, this is what this is. Yep. You're like, here's some deeper and deeper conversations. So we're moving people from left to right. Okay. Now this is real simple. This is the same example as above. The only thing is that we're just ordering this. Okay. We're just ordering this. So they visit our landing page, and we're going to require them to take an action for nurturing video ad 1 before they see video ad 2. And they have to take action at video ad 2 before they can see video ad number 3. All right. So a good example is this. Okay. I showed you a little bit of this with my check client, is that they're going to jump in on day 1, and we're going to hit them with an ad that talks about customer service. Okay. And we want them to actually consume this and visit this page. And if they don't order, then we're going to hit them with a testimonial. Okay. We're not going to show them this testimonial until they visited this order page or this landing page. Okay. So this is not the example above where these will show in any order. Like this is only going to show if they visit the landing page. And once they visit this page, then this ad will be triggered. And we're only going to show it to them until they visit this page. And so we can keep stacking this, okay, as far as we go. So eventually we get down here, and for some like, this is our final shot. And obviously you can go as deep as you want here, but you may say, hey, by the third or fourth ad, they haven't converted, we're going to hit them with a discount. All right.
Mhm.
And then we're going to try to get them to
Right.
buy at that point.
Yep.
But I'm not going to show them these in any order. Like, I want them to see this, 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 and this. Like, there's a specific sequence you want to go in to get them to convert.
Yeah.
Right.
And great application of that when all of the clients that say, when should you hit people with a discount, for all those people that are throwing a discount right to cold traffic, right? And losing all that money on the front end because you're giving away discounts to people who would have bought anyway.
Right.
This is a fantastic way to work that in, to say, we're not going to show you that until we've given you 3 chances to convert at full price, basically.
Yep.
Right?
Wait to the end, right?
Yeah.
Wait to the end.
Yeah.
So again, the only thing differences here is if you look at the includes and excludes, how we do this. And again, we could put time parameters on this. Again, like, we know that if they don't convert in 30 days, that they're not going to convert. So we can put a 30-day parameter on this thing. Okay. All right. Now, the next thing here is that you can stack these two and say, all right, I want to show them this ad when they visit my landing page for a certain time frame. So the example that I got here is, all right, I've shown them this ad. Okay. They visited my landing page. They did not convert. So for 7 days, I'm going to try this ad, and I'm going to try to drive them to this landing page. Okay. If they don't do that, I'm going to fall down to this ad, and I'm going to try a different approach. Okay. So maybe this ad talks about a particular benefit that you feel is the most important one. And if they don't bite on that, we're going to drop them to this, and we're going to talk about the second most important benefit. Mm-hmm. All right. We're going to show that for a couple days. If that doesn't work, we're going to drop them into this third ad, and maybe we're going to hit them with a testimonial or an endorsement. Okay. Now we're going to try that for the next week. And if that doesn't work, we're going to drop them to this one, and maybe we're going to hit them with a discount now. Okay. So this is, it's definitely ordered in order. Most likely we order it by importance. And then we also put a time frame on, so like, we don't hammer the person with this ad for 30 days. Like, we're going to try this for 3 days or 7 days. And if it doesn't work, we're going to hit them with something different. We're going to try that for a while. If it doesn't work, we're going to try something different. Okay. Now, one thing here that I want to tell people is that you can maybe have this all be the same page. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. So that's one kind of thing you could do. This is like, I'm going to try these 4 different ads to drive them all to a single page, and maybe even cut this middle section out, maybe drive them right to an action page. So I wanted to show you the complex example, but just know that you can simplify it. But it's like, hey, there's a specific order I want to show these ads in, but I also want to put a time parameter on it because I want to keep trying different things over this time frame to see if I can convert them.
Yep.
That makes sense?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay. So again, we'll hand this out, and you'll be able to use this and refer to it. It's going to be in the upcoming book, and I'll probably freshen it up over that time. But this is kind of the basic structure of it, and what I refer to when I build my deep funnels. It helps to kind of have a visual representation of it, and kind of have it sit in front of you. But we definitely draw out, as we set these up for clients, we definitely draw out the way we want it to look, so that we have a visual representation on paper or digitally of like how we're going to funnel our traffic. And it looks very similar to what I showed you here.
Right. Awesome. That's great. So Bob, I have a couple of questions for you as we kind of wrap up.
Yeah.
First question is, because I know this is going to be on people's minds as they're watching this, is the question of how deep should my funnel be? Because it's deep funnel. And you're basically saying like, okay, what we used to have is the one-shot method. Now you've basically proposed something that almost gives us infinite shots. What boundaries would you put on that to help people kind of starting to say, how deep is deep enough, or how do you, decide? So that's the first thing. And then the second thing, for the people that are on the call and either A, want you to build a deep funnel for them, or B, want you to do their video, because this is what you're genius at. You and Brandon are genius at, is actually taking those and saying like, I know I need explainers, and I know I need facts, and I know I need sales, but I need help to get all that done. Right? So tell me about those two things. Tell me about how do you kind of construct how deep is deep, and then jump me back and say, how do people get in touch with you if they want video or testimonials?
Okay. So there's going to be a couple things that are important as you consider how deep do I go. I talked about it earlier, how simple or complex your product is, okay? In general, the simpler your product, the shallower your funnel,
Yep.
okay? The more complex your product, the deeper your funnel, okay? Price has a factor. It's not always that you could have a simple product that's very expensive or a complex product that's very cheap, okay? But generally, like the more expensive, the more complex, the deeper you're gonna have to go, okay? The decision timeline, okay?
It's huge. Yeah.
How long, you know, a lot of like if you're marketing to corporate folks, okay, they don't move fast on things. They have to move it up the food chain, right? So there's an extended time frame that you have to keep in touch with people. So in general, you know, if the decision tree extends out, then you're going to want to go deeper with those things. Okay. The other thing is you really want to consider how much does my product or service cost, or what am I willing to pay to buy a customer? Because obviously it's expensive to keep in touch with folks. Like everything I showed you there, every impression costing me money. So you really need to determine, like, the eye capture client said, you know, I'm willing to pay $4,000 or $400. Yeah, $400 to get an appointment. Like that's what an appointment is worth to me. Okay. My check client, it says like, I'm willing to pay $150 to buy a customer.
Right.
So,
or you might be trying to sell an ebook for $17 or something, and your costs are going to be totally different. Can you keep in touch with somebody for 6 months to try to buy an ebook? Probably not.
Right. So it doesn't make sense. So in general, what we're working with is look, you can build, I showed you some really complex deep funnels. We have very simple funnels. It might be as simple as if you sell something like, David, you and I have a client, they run a massage practice, all right? Therapeutic massage. Like we know that if they don't make a decision in 7 days, that they're not going to convert. So we have a deep funnel that's a little bit shallow, which really hits as quickly as possible to people that don't convert on that initial ad. Okay. And we know that like we can go 7 days. We could spend $100, $200 to try to convert that person, but it doesn't make fiscal sense. All right. Because of the amount that our client is charging for a massage. So they've set a parameter that says we only want to spend this much to acquire a customer. And if these additional steps don't help make that number better, then we have to chop that part of the deep funnel off. Okay.
Partially, so again, I think you already said this, but partially based on the price, like you just don't have enough money to do it, but also partially like people don't take 3 months to decide whether they want a massage or not. It's like you went to the page, you're either doing it or not doing it. You may get 1 more bite at them or 2 more bites at them, but that
is a simple kind of low price service. Now, we do know this is that people's pain will not go away if they don't address it. All right. So now it just becomes how much are we willing to invest over time to possibly convert that person who really needs to come in, but didn't make a decision today. And that's really going to be based on your budget and how well you know your economics. I mentioned this a number of times, which is how much am I willing to pay to buy a customer, which means I might be willing to go negative on my first sale of that person because I know the second, third, and succeeding sales are going to actually put me in the black.
Absolutely.
So, you know, that's all considerations that you got to make as you sit down and do any sort of advertisement, let alone a deep funnel.
That's perfect. So Bob, last question for you. So obviously we're doing this training so that people can set up their own deep funnels, and we hope that we've given you, and Bob has given you everything that you need to do to take the map, tons of value in that map in and of itself. But if you're on the call today and you're thinking, this sounds fantastic, I need this, but I'm not the guy or I'm not the gal to build my own video, I need help. What does that look like for you? How do people get in touch with you?
Yeah, real easy. You just go to feedstories.com. We've got a contact page there. We've got case studies there that you can go deep on 3 or 4 of our clients to see how we use video for them. Every client's going to be different. So obviously we want to talk with you. I will say this, if you go to feedstories.com or if you go to testimonials.live, you will get put in a deep funnel. So
you'll get to see a deep funnel in action.
You'll get to see it in action. So you'll get to see 2 bald guys with, you know, a little bit of facial hair talking to you about video and talking to you about testimonials. I think you'll, if not, if you don't become a customer, you'll at least be entertained.
Awesome.
I'll say that. So yeah, go there and get pixeled and get in our deep funnel. It'll be fun for you.
Bob, thanks so much for being on today with me for my group. This has been fantastic. I know that this is way deeper and an advanced level strategy that I think people are going to get a ton of stuff out. So thanks so much for taking the time. It was fantastic to have you with us.
Awesome. It's a pleasure. Thank you.